Media blames Sarah Palin for shooting. What she did next is astounding. In the never-ending saga of more fake news, the New York Times published an editorial after the shooting at the Republican baseball practice, linking Sarah Palin falsely to the 2011 shooting where Representative Gabby Gifford was seriously injured. Why they would even bring that up, especially since that rumor was debunked years ago in the first question. The second question is, do they not know or do they not care that they are spreading fake news? Here's how Sarah Palin handled it. With this sickening New York Times editorial, the media is doing exactly what I said yesterday should not be done, despite commenting as graciously as I could on media coverage of yesterday's shooting. Alas, today a perversely biased media knee-jerk blame game is attempting to destroy innocent people with lies and more fake news. As I said yesterday, I'd hoped the media had collectively matured since the last attack on a representative, when media coverage spewed blatant lies about who was to blame. There's been no improvement. The New York Times has gotten worse. Sarah Palin. I would most definitely agree with Miss Palin, except for one part. It's not only the New York Times that has gotten worse, it's all of MSM. While the New York Times has now conveniently edited their editorial, here's what it originally said. In 2011, when Jared Lee Loughner opened fire in a supermarket parking lot, grievously wounding Representative Gabby Giffords and killing 6 people, including a 9-year-old girl, the link to political incitement was clear. Before the shooting, Sarah Palin's Political Action Committee circulated a map of targeted electoral districts that put Ms. Giffords and 19 other Democrats under stylized crosshairs. Yep, they said it. The political incitement was clear. It was? Really? No, New York Times, it was not clear at all. In fact, those little things they hate, no connection was ever established between Sarah Palin and that shooting. Blaming Sarah Palin for Gifford's attack.
So the New York Times forced to issue a correction today. This after an op-ed it featured, big time, yesterday claimed that the gunman who shot Gabby Giffords was inspired by Sarah Palin. Of course, that's a theory that's been debunked for many years. Media bias is raging on. Here to discuss, Ned Ryan and Bob Cusack are back. And Bob, you know what I found really interesting is that this is a big glaring article yesterday with the headlines, and it was meaty, and of course the correction was small, italicized, fine print that you needed a microscope to find. More humble pie for the New York Times, but it feels to me that they're smart enough to know that that was a mistake yesterday.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that's where I think the media has a bad reputation, and it earns it. I mean, if you're going to go after somebody for doing X, Y, or Z, you got to get those facts right, and that's where, and listen, I'm part of the media, and the Hill has made errors before, but when you make errors, you've got to, especially big ones, you have to correct it, and sometimes you have to apologize, because some errors are very big. This one was.
Ned, but again, sometimes I question whether they're errors or not, and that's where I think the rubber hits the road. Again, the New York Times, this is an old debunked myth that there's smart people there, right, no matter what side of the political aisle they're on.
Right. Intentional mistakes. No, I mean, first of all, they probably had to retract it because Sarah Palin was going to sue them for libel.
Oh, Twitter went crazy, by the way, as soon as it went out there. People were like, are you guys nuts?
Yeah, you've got to be kidding. I think the thing that people really need to understand, again, it goes back to what Steve Bannon said. The media is acting as the opposition party to Donald Trump and the Republican Party, and I think statistics show this. Harvard did a study about 4 weeks ago to show the rate of coverage for the last 4 presidents, negative versus positive. CNN and NBC, 93% negative coverage of Trump. The highest average of the 3 previous presidents was 60%. They were 33 points higher in their coverage of Donald Trump. And
I'm sure it's higher than
people
that.
Start asking, are you acting in reporting the facts? Or are you acting as a propaganda machine for an opposition party? And the other thing I have to tell you about the New York Times, until they
those polls are fake.
Their story from February 14th, in which they hyped the Russian collusion story, which was a fairy tale, I refuse to take them seriously.
Bob, who should we take seriously these days? I mean, quite honestly, CNN is a repeat offender. MSNBC has made it their mission to destroy President Trump. The New York Times on the same path. I mean, these, of course you're going to say Hill, but honestly, people who are watching really are conflicted here.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I didn't think there was a bias in the media until I was part of the media, and that doesn't mean every political journalist is biased. But however, it is a fact that most people who go into banking are Republican, and most people who become political journalists are Democrats. And that, once again, that doesn't mean all political journalists or all Democrats are biased, but it does creep in, and that's why it's important for editors and reporters to assess themselves and assess their newsrooms to make sure even the word choice. Sometimes, Charles, it can be subconscious. Sometimes it's not. It's blatant bias.
Yeah, I think when your site does it, it's subconscious maybe. Okay, but it is blatant by many people. Too many people.
It is blatant by many people, and I think the thing that I would find at least refreshing is if they would be honest about it and say, you know what, we are biased. We do have strong opinions, and that's how we're going to report the news, instead of trying to portray themselves as objective sources of news.
Right.
In case you're interested, click here to see what the New York Times editorial says now, a clear CYA. So here we have the MSM trying to twist the fact that a liberal extremist used an assault rifle to try to take out a lot of Republican congressmen and somehow make it the right's fault. Disgusting. We cannot let this continue. If you agree, please share. Totally. Did you get a glimpse of Nancy Pelosi's commentary? It's sickening. Sickening. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and thank you so much for watching.